It's gonna load up still. It's like you're live. It's loading. It's catching up. Grab those chocolates.
Grabbing chocolates for grounding.
Right.
It's a good excuse to eat chocolate. Ooh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ooh.
Oh, I feel like I have to burp already. How beautiful. Oh, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Happy Friday.
How is everybody on this
What
very
is
nice
today's
Friday?
date? I don't even know the date. The
I
18th?
think today is the 18th.
Yeah, it's got to be because last
Yes.
was the 11th, right?
Yes. We hope that everybody is doing really well. I feel ugly today. I'll put that out. Clear the air.
Having an ugly day. It's okay. Add it to the backswing. So,
Yes.
Sunday you come out like, oh, what was that?
I hope that we hope that everybody's doing well. And Luna and I are ready to go with this topic today. Yes.
We're like spicy. We're keeping it a little spicy today.
We are. It all kind of started because unplanned,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
We winded up putting individual videos in our individual channels on the same subject.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that that's not a coincidence, right?
No. I saw it this morning because I was just so busy yesterday. I didn't really go through my subscriptions and stuff. And then I saw your comment like, oh my God, I uploaded a video like the same topic, same day. And I was like, get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, there we go. That's what we're talking about today here. Because when those line up, how can we not bring them together to discuss, right?
Yes. And of course, we know that most of you who are an EP follow Loon, of course, and have started to follow me. And so the subject, of course, is fear.
Mm-hmm.
Fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. Big topic.
Yes.
Very broad, and I think even though now we've combined have 3 videos on this, you could have 100 videos and still not completely, cover everything. It's a very broad and general topic, but specifically for us, I think what I was sharing through, or what inspired me in the first place, was very similar to what I think inspired you.
Mm-hmm.
Is these kind of messages that I get or comments that accuse whatever I'm talking about or whatever being demonic or, that I need God or Jesus. And I'm like, Jesus is here. I've got Jesus. He said it's fine.
Right.
That kind of thing. But in general, that just fear spreading, fear-based stuff of mine seemed to be very tied that I witness often with dogma and, these strict religious. But I think one of my most frustrated things about that, one of the many frustrating things about that is, that is clearly misinterpreted or taken as literal when it should be figurative, or someone's not reading between the lines. And what I feel like it is a fear of ourselves, because we are God, we are the devil too, in ways, I'm not saying we're evil, but we have tendencies, we have shadow, we're shadow and light, we're both, right? So we're already
love
jumping
that
in,
right there. And that's a great place to start. If we believe in oneness, then it encompasses everything, and it includes the dark side or the shadow side.
Right.
And so right away we could see a separation if we start to segregate that everything that is dark or evil or whatever we want, low vibrational. The truth is that it's all part of the oneness expressing itself in the multitude of ways that it needs to, based on its soul purpose and our soul path. Right?
Creating rhythms, creating flow, a push and pull, this inspiration. There's always, we say this so many times, but they're going back to the yin yang, the arts, it's there is no bad without good and good without bad. If we're going to use those very simple and general terms, just to keep the conversation, the language in one place. Some of the most terrible things in our lives have brought the most beautiful things. Sometimes, death leads to birth, quite literally or figuratively and symbolically. So how can we judge? judgment comes up with fear, especially, there's one thing about feeling fear in yourself or, experiencing fear from, your own, perhaps I'll say insecurity, something like that, or whatever, right? But there's a difference between that and then projecting that on someone else and spreading it and accusation. And this is tied so much to judgment.
Right.
You can't do that and be spiritual.
Right.
You can't be that and be a good mother. You can't, like all of this stuff. And
well, there's where it becomes violating. And, I guess that's why we were sparked as light workers, to bark a little bit. And, and that's what we did. And that's kind of like what we're doing now. And I say that I'm speaking for you, I'm for us in that we've devoted years of, work, of development, of healing. And, are we perfect? Absolutely not. None of us are. But there's a sensitive side, I'm sure, to you, to myself, when we've devoted all this time. And by the way, not only the devotion and the dedication, the commitment, the discipline, but the rewards of the thousands of people that we've been able to help, God bless, and touch and guide because of that. And so I 1,000% resonate with you. Listen, if it doesn't resonate, then you know what? Don't engage.
Yeah.
But it becomes when the violation comes in is when you listen. If you have nothing to say or if this is not speaking to you, then keep walking. Stay in your lane, kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like we the last show. Don't start. Why do you have to get out of your lane? Do your own thing.
Yeah.
And honor what others are doing in their lane. How's that for an answer?
Yeah, or don't even freaking look that. I really.
But of course, we take the exhale because on the many different levels, this is what we teach as well. Don't engage when someone is being, inflammatory. Don't engage when somebody's trying to intimidate.
Yeah.
Lovingly detachment. We've heard of all these, principles. And so we're barking a little bit because we want to take a stance.
Yeah.
And we also want to help, the viewers to inspire
empowered
you
to
take a stance.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're not letting it in any way.
No, it's not bothering us. It's not like that kind of thing. It's just
Right.
more of this seems to be coming up a lot. There's been people I worked with. There's we were going to share a little bit about the messages that we get, which kind of, in a way, don't honor what we're doing over here or don't really, kind of, I feel like sometimes I get messages that are a bit, I'll say gimmick, like I'm a gimmick or I'm
fake, fake,
or not
manipulator,
fake, but like a party game, tell me my fortune. It's girl, you create your own fortune, okay? There you go. That's the real truth there,
right?
But I get a lot of emails, direct messages from people all the time. And these are people who I don't precisely work with. They just kind of, find me on social media, which is fine. That's great. And I get a lot of beautiful messages there too. And I try to read them as best as I can, but I can't reply to all these. I honor you guys so much. If you've ever messaged me and I didn't get back to you, it wasn't not being, not holding the field for you in some way, but it's just hours in the day. I'm a mom, I need to recharge too, kind of thing. And I just don't have enough time. However, the people who I specifically reply to and prioritize are my clients, my Patreon support, people who are working with me in some capacity. And I got a message, from someone beautiful. You might be watching. I know she loves you. And, saying that she had just gotten Reiki too. And now her friend was accusing her of doing devil stuff and all this stuff. And she's younger, this is where I get heated. This is where the heat really comes out deep from within me, because it's not so much what people say about me. I don't care. I know myself. I'm confident. I know my intentions. I know my morals, whatever you want to call it. Right. I honor my dark side too, you know, all of that stuff. But when we're talking about this coming down on people who are not quite solid yet and how they're working with this, like
how it shakes their equilibrium, and how it could shake their foundation.
And confusion is such a terrible, nasty energy. It sounds so like, oh, confusion, but it's like it will hold you in stagnation. It will make you backtrack and try to do other things that don't even feel right, you know, like all of that. So like that's where my heat comes in. I want my swords today, you know, like that's where that comes in. It's like, no, let her grow on her own. Let her experience on her own. Like, stop coming in here with that. If there's something morally like that you just can't resonate, like if I was like, oh, I can't, like, we're not on the same page anymore. Okay. You know, okay. That's just, that happens sometimes. We can honor that. But I think that's like, just to explain like my heated passion. It's more like this protective space of like, let people grow. Let people find out what's right for them.
Honor. You know what? Again, we don't have to always agree. And we don't. And that's the beauty of our uniqueness. We don't always have to agree with what everyone is doing or, you know, what they're practicing. But if we honor, then we're being part of the collective. Honoring, you know, it's just that simple, honoring. You know, so I totally get you there. My experiences actually are a little different. For some reason, I get a lot of emails, you know, and I don't know, maybe it's a test for me, of people who go to you know, to other people and they've been done something, or, you know, some darkness. Can you help me remove this? I went to see someone.
So it's basically like they don't trust the individual that they saw, and now they feel like some kind of
now they feel compromised.
Darkness.
Absolutely. Okay. And this is repetitive, you know. And so the first thing that does is it does heighten me, because what I want to say, and you know, we're trying to pick this to, of course, inspire, remembering that there's no obligation, resonation here, you know. But the first thing that it makes me heighten about is, do we do our homework before we engage with someone? You know, listen, if you're going to go to a doctor, right, the best way to find one is to ask, right? The recommendations, you know, right?
Reviews, if you can't get a word of mouth. Yeah.
And so, you know, the same rules should apply when we're looking for mentorship or even a reading, because let's face it, even though we should never give away our power, when we go to someone and we're open then to receiving guidance, there is a vulnerability in that.
Sure, yeah. It's intimate.
Which is why I say that the trust factor, someone that, you know, that you've made a connection with, whether it's online, through YouTube, you know, through their website. I invite people all the time, go look on my website, see if my face speaks to you, if the energy speaks to you.
And you can feel it. You can.
And then we should look at the reviews or see how long the person's been in practice, what they're about.
Yeah.
Listen, if we're looking, and, you know, this is going to be a little, you know, we said that we're barking a little bit. If we're going to pay, you know, $20 for reading, then you better get ready, because it's not to say that everybody who charges $20 is going to give you a bad reading, but the integrity, you know, you need to look at their credentials, you know. And the reason why I'm saying this is because this way we ensure, hopefully, that this individual has, you know, created a platform of a foundation of light, of love, of guidance, you know, right?
Of a track record of some way.
A track record, right?
And that's not to say that new individuals can't be very, you know, we're not saying
that's
that
why
at all.
It's right. Listen, of course, we all have to start somewhere, but so my first thing is we need to do a little homework, you know, and the next thing is, it takes 2 minutes to know whether somebody is coming from a place of love or a manipulative place. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, somebody starts saying, I don't care if they're the mother divine itself, camouflaged, you know, oh, you know, you better be careful. Oh, I see dark. Listen, put on your coat and run.
Yeah, get out from that.
You know,
from that.
Because
intrusive.
the environment, listen, we hear all the time, just through the videos, how we touch people, our voices, the atmosphere, the environment, the energy that we create, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so energy speaks. And we should not feel intimidated.
Mm-hmm.
We may be a little nervous when we go, make a connection with someone, of course. But that's because we don't know.
Yeah, we're excited.
When you walk
There's
in,
a whole bunch,
right?
Yeah.
There should be an immediate,
Mm-hmm.
like welcoming kind of, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I feel that there's a lot of red flags that are, that
potential red flags that we can
that
pick
we
up
should
on.
pick up on instead of being succumbed to, a horrific experience like this message I just got. I don't know what was done to me. Well, why did you even stay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And even once we, I can relate to having an experience like that. And I was very, very young. And I've shared this with you guys before. But I went to, I was at like a fair kind of thing. I got my cards read. The first, I should say too, that there was a group of these individuals who were kind of working this like healing tarot. It was beautiful, and I actually got a healing from one person. It was my first like energy healing ever. It really was beautiful. I felt like I was freaking floating out in space. It was awesome. But then later I came back and get my cards read by someone else. And she was telling me that I was gonna like not be able to have kids and like all this stuff. And I've shared with you guys, like that stuck with me.
Trauma.
I had an ectopic pregnancy where I almost died. I started having like issues like cysts kind of stuff or whatever. And it was like, so, I had like, essentially it got in my head, and then something happened in like a major process in my life. It wasn't just one thing, but I had to wake up, like, oh my God, I'm in control of my life. What am I doing? I got my puppy, and like my mom died, and then I got pregnant like right away. It was like all happened in like a few months, you could say. So I'm just trying to share that like in that case, I was naive, I was young. I didn't have the balls to like get up and walk away or be like, and even though it didn't feel like I remember feeling like I wanted to reject it, it still got in my head. I wasn't mature enough. I didn't have something like protecting me. And I feel like, I'm sorry to like jump over, but this is just kind of like, this is, right? This is where we go, right? Yeah. This is how our conversations always. But it kind of goes into this place of rejecting or knowing that something isn't right for you, but still feeding into it. So there's this like balance of, I'm kind of losing like what I was going to say a little bit, but this balance of honoring the experience to say, as an opportunity to say like, no, I closed the door or whatever. But also this goes into the dangers of spiritual awakening, the dangers, like what you see, like, oh, danger, open your third eye, and you're like, okay, but it's funny. It's funny. But the danger is, are you prepared? Like I work with stones sometimes and I'll share like, this is not a newbie stone, because some of these stones or tools or meditations or experiences that we have as we're on this like spiritual path, if we're not ready, if we're not in the foundation, then if I have a prophetic dream of someone dying and then they do die, what is that going to do to me? Am I going to honor that? Like, wow, my subconscious was really trying to get my attention to show me how powerful I am, or how tapped in I am rather. Or is it, oh my God, I knew it was going to happen. I was supposed to do something about it. And now they died and now it's my fault. And like carry that for the rest of my damn life. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the danger of spirituality. Are you ready to face the demons that might come up within you, or the fears or the insecurities? Are you established in knowing who you are yet? So that takes time.
I love it all. Love it. You said so much there, and of course we said that we could do 1,000 shows on this one subject, and you're absolutely right, because everything that you said is delicious.
Thank you.
It is. It reminds me to say, whenever we're connecting with someone, they should tell you, accept what resonates, leave at the door. I know that that's a ritual for me.
Yeah.
In all the years that I, been of service. And the reason is because our job as light workers is not to be an influence.
No.
But we recognize that through our exchange, they could be triggers. But ultimately, we cannot forget that you are a creator.
Right.
And that puts you in the seat of power. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
That puts you in the seat of power, which means that you can refuse what anyone is imposing on you, whether it's me, whether it's Loon, whether it's God, whether it's anyone. You are a creator. And so we need to keep that in our pockets or even in our peripheral as we, open the door, to always remember that, if something doesn't resonate, we don't have to accept it as truth, and that comes up, there's many variations of that, because there are times, if you are working with a teacher, where there may be some resistance that comes up that, then plays as not resonating, And I always say I have to give sometimes some of my beloveds a little ouchie, because I love them and I've been working with them for a while. Yeah. And it's, well, this may not be resonating, but guess what? There is a little resistance here. And even with that said, ultimately, they have to have the acknowledgement, or else we're not going anywhere. I can't impose or force anyone to accept something, right?
Right. And you don't try to.
Right. So when we have these awarenesses, we can then navigate through these fearful, areas that we can. You said something also delicious that, I could go on forever. I could, I'm like, whoa. But, you said earlier, Jesus, I was sharing with Loon, when I first started my own journey, it was angels who were whispering in my ear, because I had made, I had attempted to make that connection and I was successful, blah, blah, blah. And one of the first things they guided me to do was to write. And so I started writing little articles for this little portal at the time, 20 something years ago, right?
A little forum.
I'm sorry?
I'm saying forum. You said
like
portal.
A forum.
Yeah. Just another, just
like it was called Religion Quest or something. And they had like little articles on every possible, religious sect, right? Anyway, so I started writing these articles about my experiences, this and that. And I cannot tell you how many emails I got. Like, I was speaking to devils, the demons. Oh, you should cleanse yourself. Nobody can make those connections unless you go through Jesus. And, to the point where I stopped writing the articles. I became very afraid. I disconnected from my angels, because now I was at a crossroads. Like, are these people, why am I getting all these emails? Maybe it's a message. Anyway, the long and short of that story is that I ended up immersing myself in biblical scriptures and reading the Bible twice from beginning to end. I wrote a book that I took out off print, because believe it or not, in that book, I actually say, oh, it's only through Jesus. So in other words, it was so influential that it got me going in that direction.
Yeah.
And I took it out of print because as soon as I wrote it and put it out to a publisher's hands, by the way, I was under contract, I realized, wait a minute, how can this be bad? When all these angels have guided me with love. Everything that they've guided me through has been beauty, growth, this, that, you see. And so the reason why I'm sharing that is because people could be fearfully influential, and 2, because you're the greatest validation.
Yeah.
And it starts in here. How does it feel? How does it make you feel? Whether it's a process, whether it's a learning, whether it's a video, a teacher,
a friend, anything. An experience. Yeah. Anything.
How does it feel?
And what is your intentions too?
Yes.
It's funny you're saying this, and it started reminding me of the movie Pan's Labyrinth. And in it, it's like the story. It's you would love it, like kind of spooky, mystical, Pan, like whatever. Read it for me. Yeah, it's good. It's in Spanish too. So.
Oh, really?
Blanca's bilingual. And it's like this Pan. So like, oh God, like the Pan, like the. Oh my God, what's his other name? I can't think of it right now. But you know what I mean? The forest, like, guide or whatever. And he's like helping this girl go through these like trials. And essentially she was like maybe like a princess from like the underworld in like a beautiful way, not like darkness, but this like protected, like underground mystical, fairy kind of kingdom thing. And he's putting her through these tests of like retrieve this key, do this, do that. But the last one, he guides her. It's not like a spoiler, but he guides her to kill or not even kill. I'm sorry. 1 drop of blood from her baby brother. And he's like, we just need 1 drop. It will barely hurt him. And she's like, no. So it's also this opportunity that like sometimes we have these, I don't say guidance that's bad. I don't mean that, but I'm just trying to articulate that like it's what resonates with you. Even if you got a message that was, oh, we need 1 drop of innocent blood here. You know what I mean? I got that. And that's how she passed her test.
Oh, wow.
Was to refuse. You know what I mean? Yes. So it's just like
exactly.
You know what I'm trying to say there?
Yes. So in other words, right, the greatest gift could be in your empowerment is say no.
Yeah.
Or to honor a nudge that may be indicating that something's not on the right track. Right.
I think too, our body responds when we're not doing well. Like I remember there was a period in my life where I'm not judging myself. I've done lots of stuff. Like I don't judge any of it, but there was a period in my life where I was definitely not where I should have been. It was like misguided. It was an experience. It was shadow work. It was this thing, it taught me a lot. But in that experience, my body was freaking out. Like my body was not happy. It was like telling me like, stop, like making me get sick, like literally like halting me. And I really love just like kind of throwing that in as like that, the feeling, the gut, but then also how far have we gone where it's now manifesting in our body in some way as truth or lie. Your body will submit to a lie. So if you find yourself on this path of like, I'm saying submit, but like can't hold up to a lie. You know what I mean? And if you find yourself on a path that you feel like you're supposed to be going down because you're guided that way by other people, by outside influences, what I mean, like in a fear-based way, perhaps, but you're meant to do Reiki, or you're meant to be a practitioner, or you're just meant to do this at home when you're, taking your bubble bath and like, you're going to feel it in your body. Like it will come up. It's just like another way to tap into that subconscious or that like higher mind rather of what is right for you and what is not right for you kind of thing. And I don't mean to say that people who struggle with illnesses are on some kind of bad path. I don't mean that at all. But also like it's a representation of something, and I'm talking about more like older people. I'm not talking about like babies and stuff.
That's an area, you've touched again on so much, we always say that there's a yin and a yang to this, the universal force is very paradoxical sometimes, we need to, again, be the observers.
Yes.
Acutely the observers, in shamanic. That's one of the greatest principles I love to teach the beloveds is be the observer. And, when you're talking about listening to your body, there it is. Be the observer of yourself, be the observer of circumstances, be the observer of what's manifesting in front of you that's not particularly yours. And when we learn how to be the observer, we're in a great place of empowerment because, I usually stand in a corner and I show like, like from over here, from this vantage point, we're the observer, which illustrates that we don't have to engage in the center of any, necessarily in the center of anything. Because when we engage, it literally means that we become a part of. And sometimes we don't always want to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't.
Be a part of something. And so when we become the observer, we have this great vantage point of being able to observe and not judge, or be able to see clearly without, the influences, being engaged in here.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah, because you're affected. You're then a piece of that. You're in the fight, right? Perhaps, let's say,
you speak about illness years ago, and this is very powerful. This has impacted me for 2 decades. Years ago when I first started my practice, I had an individual come to see me, and she was suffering from breast cancer. And she was petrified. She was consumed, of course, with fear and anxiety, rightfully so, by the way. When we're shaken by illness, our whole life is shaken.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
But what made this such a challenge for her and for me was that she was Christian. And no judgment, of course. I'm just sharing a very powerful testimonial to my own growth, like an observation. And she refused to get on the table to receive a healing. She just wanted to speak to someone, which was fine because I do, that's part of what I do.
Yeah.
However, in having the conversations that we did, the exchange, she was riddled with anger and bitterness because her husband had been unfaithful a multitude of times. And I had tried unsuccessfully to show her the correlation, because I do advocate to a great degree that illness is mostly emotionally rooted.
Yeah, now, it comes.
That's kind of radical, but I do.
But you're not the only one. A lot of people believe that.
And I don't say 100%, but close to it.
Yeah.
There's usually an emotionally root cause, unless that was your soul path.
Right.
To have that experience, and that's a whole different show.
Yeah. But, which I think we've even talked about that a little bit before.
But, so I try to help her to see the correlation of, listen, betrayal, the heart chakra, the breasts are about femininity, the fact that he's been, multiple times. Anyway, here's where it really impacted me. She could not forgive him, but she could not divorce him because of her religion. So she couldn't get on the table. She couldn't experience healing, and she could not leave him. And she came back a few times, and I begged her, listen, we need to get through this process, and did I know that she was going to heal from it? I don't know. I didn't know, but I was sure as hell going to try to help her, right? Well, of course, she transcended, and it impacted me because it left me with that tattoo of, wow, her fear of religion and her control of the stigma of I can't do this and I can't experience this and I can't, and so what are you doing here was what I shook her. She had children. It was please, listen to me, let's heal from this. Let's release this. Let's she just wouldn't, she couldn't. And it was all fear-based, connected to her religious foundation. So
I know lots of Christians too who are totally down with Reiki and just they can so I think it's we hear that word because it's such this in the lower realm of Christianity, the imposing Christianity, the no, you can't worship the earth anymore, you need to be baptized and be a child of that, I'm talking about, because it has this long history of brutalized, there's a brutal energy associated with it. So I just want to honor you Christians out there who are more neo, if I could put it that way, you know what I mean? Just to acknowledge, and same with Muslim and every religion, we honor you guys. So absolutely, and you did a good job of honoring. I don't mean to say that, but just from my side too.
And well, you know what? I add another, because I mean, I have stories, experiences upon experiences, but ironically, it was Christ himself who came to me and asked me to become a healer. I had no idea what that word was or what it meant. And I went through a year of initiation with a deathly illness that almost killed me, and it was during that period of that year when many teachers came to speak to me, and part of the mystery teachings in Patreon is where I'm kind of revealing some of those stories, but and it was Christ who really helped me survive, through many teachings. I mean, I was out of my body. I don't know what was going on, but anyway, eventually I began to recover slowly. And it was in one of those amazing everlasting experiences where I was taking a bubble bath. Talk about bubble baths, right?
Okay.
That's why I love them.
Throwback.
And all of a sudden I was meditating and I had this incredible vision of the Christ just slowly coming closer with two angels on either side of him. And he simply took my left hand and kissed it from the inside.
Yeah.
And the moment he did that, there was an instant impregnation in my knowingness that I had to discover what a healer was.
Yeah.
Like
it's funny too, because even the Reiki story of Dr. Usui, it comes from people asking him, how did Jesus do healings? And then he went off on this like whole, like, I'm not great with years, but I'll say like 10-year quest to discover what that was. Went to Chicago, got his doctorate in theology. It still didn't answer his questions, but along the way, he learned to read Sanskrit, came back to where he was, in the Buddhist like area, got to like. So Jesus is such a testament to he is a healer.
And that's the thing. That's why I'm bringing it up.
I know. I just wanted to say that. Yeah.
Yes, you have to. Yes, because that kind of messed me up a little bit too. Remembering, what I said earlier about the whole religion, Catholic, and, me throwing in myself into the Bible. It was like, wow, I have to look at this again because it's Christ who came. It wasn't the Buddha, even though I had many teachers, And what I learned was, of course it would be him. He was one of the most acknowledged in the limelight healers.
Yeah.
Do we say it?
Yeah.
Healers.
Yeah.
And so I came full circle with it, which is, he is one of my teachers. It doesn't have to make me this or that.
Right.
He stepped in as a teacher to teach me about healing, and his gift was to make me aware of that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I love what you're saying too.
It's true. It's so beautiful when we talk about like being visited by Christ or these experiences, because I just want to remind everyone that like you do that every day in your connections to stuff. Whatever it is, deities, goddesses, angels, Christ, anything like that, archetypes in general. And this kind of something I wanted to touch on as well, because we kind of go back to that, fear of God, like as in like this, like punishing kind of God, or fear of self, because we are God and we punish ourselves through our own judgment of whether or not this is good, healthy water, or is this like sweatshop water, or like in some kind of like Nestle verse, like something that's doing good for like some kind of, I don't know, charity or something. But I love this. This just sparked this again, this like Christ and these ways that we address God. So when I talk about any of these archetypes, deities, Jesus, and ourselves as well, we are facets of God. We are facets and representations and expressions and things that are having experience, consciousness that's having an experience, and working with deities, let's say, because I'm going to say deities because like they can be a little spooky, let's say, right? Like Christ is not very spooky. Well, no one's really like, I fear Jesus. You know what I mean? Well, not but like Kali, or even Saturn, and like fearing Saturn. And it's like, is there anything to fear here really? Or is it the lessons that he's going to reveal to you? Or is it the Kali within you who can come out and chop a head off when they need to? You know what I mean? So I like working with these archetypes, these deities as representations of God, and knowing that is what I'm working with. There's no worship. There's only like, I can approach you.
It's a mirror of you, by the way.
They're
an aspect of you.
They're pieces, fragments, facets of you already.
And I love, oh my God, I love it again. Can I say it? I always say I have cosmic orgasms. Can I say it? I love it. Because you're saying such powerful stuff, in that, when we're afraid of these aspects, and again, you need to accept this or explore it if it resonates, because we're going deep here, and of course, if it doesn't, then don't accept it. But when we are afraid, we're really rejecting a higher aspect of ourselves, because
that's
everything is a representation of yourself. There is only one. of the universal force representing itself in the many limitless multitude, infinite, undescribable ways and faces and personalities and blah, blah, blah. Yes. And so it is a challenge because when we connect, consciously or subconsciously, we may bow to them and thinking that, they're high and mighty, but now we're creating a separation.
Right.
You see, when in truth, what we should do is honor. There's a difference between bowing and feeling less than and acknowledging an aspect of yourself, you see? And this is how you begin to embrace those aspects, is in recognizing that it's a high aspect of the one, which is you, and that you are worthy. You see the difference? How beautiful that, right?
And so much more approachable. And so much, like, if you get to that place where we're not afraid of what's inside us, and like, I'm going to use Saturn as an example, because people fear Saturn, like there's so many stories and all this stuff, but like, whose life am I touching where I'm Saturn? Or I'm holding someone, let's say, because maybe they're thinking about me, or they need me to do something, or I challenge them just by some natural aspect of just being myself. I'm not trying to say like I'm out here causing trouble for people, but like I'm in some way playing Saturn, where I'm giving someone a lesson they have to face, even just by being myself, So how could I fear something that I do, even without intention, or particularly without like negative or harmful discord intention, right? Like, how interesting. And just as much as I might be Saturn, I might be Jesus, or I might, like, in terms of how the intercosmic web is all kind of laced together,
and, that opens up a whole other doorway. Channelers, are they the deity, or are they the container, that can hold that energy? In many cases, of course, it is that they're being a container, but in that moment, they are that energy. You see? So again, it's very paradoxical. I get asked all the time by beloveds, I feel like I was Mary Magdalene or Isis, or and well, it's paradoxical, because was there an energy named Isis? Yes. Can we hold it in a container and be it, Isis, if we're called to? Yes. Because the key is if we can have the capacity to hold that energy. It may not obviously stay here. It is very encompassed, so it can be shared with thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. But again, the paradox is, can you be them? Yes.
And can you be touched by them? Can you be influenced,
be guided by them? Can you? Yes, and yes.
It's almost like characters in a book or a movie, like we all kind of tap into loving a character or loving a book, or being like, oh, Jim Carrey in Eternal Sunshine. Like I read, like, or whatever it is, right? Like how we connect. And I just love that shared experience, because I know many in our tribe, we have a lot of Egyptian, history. We have all these different things. Yes. Mary Magdalene. Right. And I also like to think about this stuff. This is a bit not so much fear-based, but if Isis was this like high energy, like holding a lot, and look at the population on Earth and how it's like continued to expand and increase. Even if we looked at that channel just as an example, coming through Isis, then coming through her teaching, her sect, her mystery schools, and those individuals, mostly women, will say that like feminine energy, sex magic, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary was in there, like all this stuff with the serpent bracelet and all that. And then what does happen through the pyramid spreading out, let's say, like pyramid form into now, like our world has like how many billions of people and all of this stuff, and like that kind of connection. So I just like to visualize that. Like, it's not really like this is like a comment more than like a thing to share, you know, like just kind of throw that out. Yeah. You know what I'm trying to say?
I love it, of course. It's part of the mystery teachings, and, you know, and the beauty of what you just described and how it really unfolds. It's just a very touching when we have the humbleness to be the observer and have an understanding of how that really unfolds and is unfolding. Mm-hmm. It's just, wow, talk about an incredible story. Mm-hmm. It is, you know, but you just reminded me, and I kind of mentioned it before, and I've been actually saying like, oh, should I talk about fear, you know? You know, I have remembered being many things in many lifetimes, you know, ancient beyond ancient. And I don't say that, you know, I say that humbly, you know, and several years ago, it was acutely brought to my attention through a series of initiations that I am an Ayanuki, you know. And of course I delved into that.
So let me just give a little introduction to, which is a word I can't pronounce. I'm probably butchering
I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah, Ayanuki.
Yes.
If you're curious what that is, if you don't know, it is the story goes, it's an alien race that came here. I'm saying alien, I don't even like that word, but another species race, rather, who came to Earth to collect this gold to heal their planet, right? And through that process, the story goes that they influenced humanity and kind of brought humans online. Maybe, you know, the story kind of weavers, right? Like maybe before we were meant to. Right. So there's a stigma. I'm just trying to clarify. There's a stigma associated with that.
Right. There is a very huge stigma.
Like that they're bad, or that they
were manipulative, and that, you know, they interfered. And, you know, here it is, sharing a piece of fear, you know, myself, is that I was horrified because instead of going inward, I went outward searching for, you know, like for knowledge and this and that. And I found, by the way, amazing books by Stitchen, who is a master of, you know, author of the Ayanukis. But what I've also learned is, you know, we only have so much that we can document based on, you know, physical evidence. And he does an amazing job.
Oh my God. It's like amazing. I couldn't even get through the book, honestly. Like there's 8 of them.
I read all of them.
Oh my God. I was times. Like, this is way too.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
I had to read them because I had to keep attuning to the assimilation that
the story, the language, absolutely.
But what winds up happening is that now I feel this great responsibility, this great burden, because of the stigma of what the Ayanukis, you know, supposedly did, and the judgment and the everything, and seeing that dark side of me now and saying like, wait a minute, I've been doing this work. That was about 5 years ago. So I've been doing this work for 15 years. I've attuned thousands, you know, I've done that classes and attunement, you know, and how could it be that I'm this this alien, blah, blah. Anyway, of course, the ultimate answer would be to go inward. And to make a self-discovery myself, and to realize that, you know, it's not completely true that, you know, we helped in the evolution, and it's a matter of perspective. There it is. We could say that it was bad, or we could say that it was good. We could also, you know that we've been here, you know, as are many other galactic races. And what are we all doing here? Helping, teaching, awakening, triggering, activating the little ones into the ascension process. And so I guess what I'm sharing that is that I myself, even at this level of ascension, coming out of the closet and finally embracing with no shame to say, yeah, this is who I am. And, you know, like, this is what I've done, and my contribution to humanity, and breaking through the stigma of like, oh my God, you're an Ayanuki, you're an alien, you're this, you're that, you know, like you're bad.
I feel like you can resonate, or people can resonate with that even without knowing their past lives, but, you know, like being of a certain descent, you know, and knowing like, okay, I have lineage of like English, Irish, Dutch, and these invaders who did some terrible things here. and in the States is what I'm saying. And I struggle with that, like I struggle with like, God, like, I don't even know what role that played. I don't know those individuals. Right. Yes, they're part of my bloodline, but I have cosmic blood as well, so like, this is what I've come into to kind of work with. But it's like a thing. You have to be okay, but it's more about who I am now than maybe what my ancestors did, because I don't even know what they did, kind of thing, know. And my mother and grandfather, her father, have said that we have like indigenous or like Native American blood.
I could see that.
But I don't even talk about it, because I feel like I'm going to be judged for it, or I don't have proof, like that kind of thing. I've never done a blood test. And it's like, even if I do, it probably came from some Dutch family member raping and capturing, like a feminine, you know what I mean? So I guess that struggle, like what did I come from? Like what am I doing? But actually it's more about who are we now?
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
Accepting who we are now, breaking through the stigma of the collective and these judgments, I love that, that you can just say, oh, so maybe the bloodline came through a rape, and so what? It was perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying so what the rape, but it was perfection, And I just kind of want to add there, because I feel like I need to, speaking of fear and, people fearing, being attacked by alien nations.
We were just touching on that a little earlier.
And again, God bless, we're all entitled to believe what we want, but that almost hurts me when I hear it.
Yeah.
Because again, and we're being bold in this one, there are so many ascended galactic beings here already. Who do we think are the teachers, the healers, the light channelers, the light language channelers, the Scientologists, who do we think they are? But galactic beings from other dimensions that came here.
Who chose to come here.
To volunteer.
To volunteer to this pit.
To help the earthlings to reach their ascension,
To open doors.
So should we really be afraid of the very, loving celestial beings who chose to leave their dimensions, and their higher awareness and realities to come and help us? We should be thankful, is what we should be, not afraid,
right.
And again, that fear then must come from an outside influence of not having a direct connection.
Right. And movies, I will say too, like movies, because that gives witches, aliens, like all this like spooky bad rap, sacrifice experiments, like, all this stuff that's very like fear inducing, but it's imposed in you, like it's an imposed image, which got in your mental plane. And you can pull it up because you've seen Fire in the Sky, which freaked me the hell out. I was freaking scared of that movie. You can pull it up and remember the feeling that you felt watching it, witnessing this like alien, like doing experiments on someone they abducted. You can pull up that file. Oh yeah. Oh, I saw that thing, or oh, I felt like this. And now it's a real fear because you've got a mental image and you've got a feeling that you can tap into and you can kind of play. So I'm just kind of sharing there, like how movies, fear, media, LA, I don't know, like all this, like Hollywood in general,
and that's
plays a very big role in fear.
Yes, and that's an interesting point. And, we have to, because, we're sharing such a broad scope, and this too, we learn in the shamanic apprenticeships is, look, the earth is as deep as it can possibly, the depth of the abyss. And then the cosmos are as unreachable as, infinite.
Yeah, infinite.
Right? So there's so much in between, right? Are there dimensions that have not yet evolved? Say, let's use numbers for the sake of, the explanation, right? Right now we're in like the earth is like in the 4th, 5th dimension right now. are there, obviously we came from a third dimension. Is there a second dimension? Is there first? Of course there is, and of course there's the infamous astral dimension where it's almost like a stop, dimension that many souls
it's another school.
Can sort of take a detour and kind of stay there and play.
It is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do we say that? Because as we're, opening the gateway to ascension, there's many people who claim, that they've been, disturbed, that they've had unpleasant experiences, that, something, came to them, bothered them. Well, we don't open doors. We don't give permission. And we have to check. This is the most important thing. Where is our influence regarding that? Because if we have a fear, then we're just enhancing the possibility of having an experience.
Right.
Fear doesn't keep anything away. It actually attracts it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
right?
Absolutely.
And so I always say, we shouldn't have to fear anything. This is why, by the way, I recommend that we make that connection with the higher realms, as and this is why it's important to have, say, the Buddha, the Christ, the archangels be our anchor as we are learning to open, and ascend, because we do want, and I say this not out of fear, but we want guards as a safety measure, because if we wander or our fear navigates us in one direction, then we may encounter something unpleasant, but it's not because you're in danger by ascending.
Right.
You know?
No, absolutely. I when you touched on like astral realms, it kind of made me think of, I get a lot of questions too about, like, oh, is my house haunted? Or, oh, do you believe in demons? And like all this kind of stuff. And my answer is kind of like, no, but kind of yes, in the example of on the astral realm, it's a playing field, and we create through our thoughts. And I'm going to do a whole video on astral stuff for my patrons. So
Can I go?
Yeah, right. But we create there. So let's say a family has passed down, oh, there's this demon in the woods. There's a demon that lives in the woods. They do this. That family or town or however big the capacity of the minds that may have been feeding into this by volume or by years are creating an energy in the forest, let's say. And you're doing the same thing. If you're like, there's an evil spirit in my house. There's an evil spirit. If you do that, you're going to start catching it. You're creating an astral form. You're creating something on the astral plane that might be mischievous, that might lose your keys and steal your key. Like I'm not saying something's going to come out and like literally, but at the same time, kind of, it feels like that sometimes, right? Like you thought you put something down or whatever, right? That's like a whole nother thing. But in general, it's just like, what are you feeding into? And just know that you can create on the astral realm out of beauty and support and protection and, your higher version of yourself. Like I have dinosaurs that I work with where I'm like walking down the street with my like my crystal dinosaur bone in my pocket. Like, who's going to mess with me? No one, and I just feel this like presence, Right. Just in general,
I love
astral
that.
realm is like a very interesting topic,
It is.
And it's nothing to fear unless you're bringing and creating fear there,
And it comes back again to the simplicity and the fundamental, which is you're a creator, and whatever you open the door to, and having an acute awareness that how you open a door to something is through fear, And so I'm remembering the empowerment of being the observer. And the observer is, listen, there's a window here. I can see something outside. I don't have to open the window.
And you can then
but now you're inviting,
or if you're taking the stance, like this is a way that sometimes or in a healing, right? Sometimes first and foremost, I'm a conduit, but at one point I turn into a witness where I might see, maybe a symbol, whatever, like a symbolic kind of thing come up in someone's energy. But I'm also empowered enough to be like, oh, I felt I'm gonna say like volcano. Like, oh, I felt a volcano and I felt uncomfortable. Let me now create something soothing, something calming, and bring that in. So it's not just the witness stance of purely to witness, but to assess and make the best choice of how I'm gonna step in, like to the field and what I'm going to bring with me. Like, what do I need kind of thing.
Right.
It's really intelligent, like to process that way. It's
beautiful. It is. But you said it again. You see, we learned that the shamanic realm, and the first thing that we learn is the connection with the guides, your totem animals, the connection to the earth. Because by the time you go journeying into the underworld or to do a soul regression or retrieval, you do not go there alone. You see, you go armed, you go experienced, and you always go protected. You see, and so from with all that, there's nothing to be afraid of again. But there's preparation.
Yeah,
we don't do anything by ourselves. Is the bottom line for me. Like, we don't. And if we do think that we do, then we should be fearful. If we think,
that's
and of course we're creators, but there's a host of, divine guidance available to us, and they're always with us. And so we don't do anything by ourselves.
Yeah,
and we shouldn't want to,
anyway.
How's that, but to invite all this beauty or this divinity or the divine celestial essence to navigate us through every experience.
Just hold the field in general. Just hold the sacred space for the process or whatever. Like, even that alone is quite powerful to bring in.
Yes. So
yeah, we're wrapping up here.
Yes. We hope that we left you with something. We went through too many levels, from here to here. So I just want to add, if you're bringing fear to like the family and physical, start there and start cutting those cords, start getting your power back, knowing that it doesn't have to be part of your foundation. That it could be a foundation that was built from many years, ancient ancestors. It doesn't have to be part of you, so start gaining that empowerment and let it navigate you to the many areas we took you today.
Yes,
right?
For sure.
Yes. Wow, that was cool. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I feel like we got to calm down too, because we were both like not heated when we were first talking, but we're like, when we both came in today and we're like setting up, we were like, oh, like we were like, oh my God, we're gonna scare people because we're like, oh, like the dukes are up,
We're gonna have our chocolate now, and of course, we hope that you have an amazing day. You have anything to add there, young lady?
No, not really, not really. Just we have our retreat still. We're just gonna keep mentioning it until it shows up. We both have our own channels. We both have our own Patreons where we work together. We work apart. We go different directions, so just if you want any more information.
Frickin' frack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yin and yang.
Yin
and Palladian.
There you go. Yes. And we love you, and we love you for the support that you give us together and individually. And we love you. We hope you have a great weekend, and we will hopefully see you next Friday.
Yeah, next Friday. 11. We're trying to just carve that groove, like
trying.
Yeah. We're doing good though.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
We love you so much. Always leave you with our love, with our light, and with our peace. Love you, love you, love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Would you like a chocolate, young lady?